So StreamYard is telling me it's showtime, and it's showtime is the tagline for a movie, one of the great filmmakers, artists of the 20th century, Bob Fosse's birthday today. He's 96. He would have been 96. And so I did a little change in the schedule. This is a Journey of an Aesthete podcast, and we're going to do a part 4 of my 70s cinema series. This one I titled Free Associations, which could mean double meaning of people. Freedom of assembly is one of the things in the Constitution, and every film I'm going to show today deals with well, there's two matters. There's the matter of the fact that in the 70s, things were kind of, as they would have said, some still say outrageous, odd, weird, aesthetic extremism. Some people say drab. You know, the colors, the avocado green, the browns, the outrageous polyester clothes and everything, and just design. Now, I'm going to be dealing with the fact that in the 70s, filmmakers had a self-conscious awareness that there was something really unusual about this. And so my theory is that they wanted to document it as much as they could because they looked at it, they were involved in it from the inside, of course. They were living in the 70s, but they also looked at it as this is something to capture. And there's that. But there's another essence. It's a vision of community in the 70s, sort of free association, freedom of assembly, public spectacles, and sort of I'm going to start off with the opening to All That Jazz, 1979, with Roy Scheider as a stand-in for Bob Fosse. And this is considered one of the great opening sequences of any film. It's I think actors and dancers love this sequence for obvious reasons, as we'll be seeing soon. It's an audition, and it's George Benson's on Broadway. Wonderful jazz fusion sort of pop composition that he had a hit with in 79, and it's used as the music. George Benson said to Bob Fosse, "How are you going to use my music?" He didn't see how it would fit, and said, Bob Fosse says, "It's going to fit. You'll see." The editing. Oh, Sven Nykvist is a DP on this, cinematographer who did Tarkovsky's films and Bergman's films. So, Bob Fosse liked to get the best. So this is not right at the opening. Oh, before I forget, The Mother and the Whore is at Lincoln Center this week. It's like an anniversary. So La Maman et le Pétain was a French new wave film that kind of Jean Eustache made some really, really wonderful films, like all the pretty ones in the early 80s. And then this one with Jean-Pierre Léaud, Bernadette Lafont, and Françoise Lebrun. I'm butchering these pronunciations, but this week, Françoise Lebrun was on hand talking about making of this, the very definition of talkie cinema. It's like a 3-hour film of folks talking to each other, very different than the films we're covering today, which are more about spectacle and all that. So I highly recommend trying to see Mother and the Whore. If only because, it's a fabulous picture, and I've seen it in many forms, usually in theaters, but also was a really big influence on American independent new wave of the 2000s. Actually, I could see that, and there's some of that, Andrew Bajowski and things like that. But not to get too far afield, I thought I would mention that. This is my film comment that I had. I was reading this as a child, so. Put this here. You guys ready for All That Jazz? Let's do it. I tried to set everything up here so that it's clear, and hopefully it'll. Don't worry, we'll get to the scheduled programming because I have a thing I'm doing here, so I don't know what we got here.
All right.
It's showtime, folks.
say the neon lights are right on Broadway. They say there's always magic in the air. But when you're walking down that street and you ain't had enough to eat, the flicker rubs right off and you're nowhere. You say the women treat you fine on Broadway. Looking at them just gives me the blues. 'Cause how you gonna make some time when all you got is one thing dime, and one thing dime won't even shine your shoes. They say that I won't last too long on Broadway. I'll catch a Greyhound bus for home, they all say. But they're wrong, I know they are, 'cause I can play this here guitar, and I won't quit till I'm a star on Broadway. They say that I won't last too long on Broadway.
Autumn?
I'll catch a
Is that your real name? Yes, sir.
That's what they
Sure you don't want to change that?
Well, if you give me the job, I'll change it.
But they're dead wrong. I know they're wrong. 'Cause I can play this here guitar, and I won't quit till I'm a star.
Victoria Porter. Is this your home phone?
Till I'm a star on Broadway.
I think that's a really good place to stop on that. I'm coming around here. Don't worry. On that very one of the themes of today's episode, as we'll see, is sexuality and eroticism. which and all involved in that, that's all that jazz. Now, there's a lot I could say about that sequence. There's a lot people have said about that sequence, but that's pure cinema. That's just the editing and cutting. I've talked about this before. Excuse me, by Alan Heim. Just and it's quick cutting, but everything has a purpose, and everything has a visual purpose, and the blending of the shots, and just also the individuality of every human being, the way the camera goes in on the faces, and it's George Benson's guitar. It's just phenomenal. Again, this changes everything in terms of my program, so I'm going to have to do another episode to sort of catch up with some things I won't be able to get to today, because actually we'll be here a long time, and it's going to be a long episode enough as it is because of some of the material. So I apologize for that, but I hope you enjoy. Now, going from that, I think we'd segue to an opening sequence. So should I? Let me think. I'm going to show "Looking for Mr. Goodbar," the credit sequence, not the film. I mean, not a scene, a dramatic scene. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. Of course, it's a document of the sexual revolution of the 70s, but it's also more specific to my purposes. Disco music and bars and discos are the two areas that Teresa goes to and meets Richard Gere and all of her nighttime adventures, I would call them, or experiments in living, alternate lifestyles, etc. And it's from Looking for Mr. Goodbar. But I'm interested in, this is another often remarked upon credit sequence. Now, you're going to see stills. Not moving image, not photographic moving image, but black and white art photographs of all the people in the film. So in a way, the opening credit sequence is almost like what you would see at the end of a film. And it has the whole sequence has kind of an elegiac, very poetic quality, very lyrical. And so there's a real sense of loving. It's Richard Brooks' film. Richard Brooks is not part of this scene at all. He's, he was often criticized, I'm sure, by many of the more advanced, or more, what's the term, advanced or more militant people that, he's out of touch and he's older, and but anyhow, I'm not at all interested in. I'm interested in this as a description, or as the theme of this episode, which is public spaces, the exposure of people sort of letting it all hang out in public spaces, and also representations in film of how people lived at a period of time, which these are stills of what discos would have looked like. And then so I talk more about it up front just to kind of guide us to what we're gonna, but I have to switch formats here because we got to go to Mr. YouTube, and I'll try to do this very quickly. What do we got here? Yep, Mr. YouTube. I made up a little playlist. What do we got here? What do we got? Okay. Library. Boom, here we go.
Afraid to confess and afraid not to.
All right, let's go. One more thing, to quote Columbo or Peter Falk, one more thing. The music, very important. Artie Kane was like Mr. 70s. I'm going to call him that in music. He did TV shows, TV movies, scoring popular songs, amazing musician. And he scored, he co-wrote some of the songs. So you're going to see here a little bit of the three divas, Thelma Houston, Donna Summer, and the often overlooked Marlena Shaw. It's all great late 70s sort of jazz / soul / pop / R&B, kind of a similar musical world as the George Benson you just heard on Broadway. And and it's just wanted to, and then so probably some other things I forgot, but I'll try to try to. But this is the opening of Mr. Goodbar.
Leave me this way. I can't exist. I'll surely miss your tender kiss. Don't leave me this way. Don't promise moments forever. This night will fade to haunted memories. Don't relive each kiss, whispered sigh. Love me, then leave before the dawn. Don't believe it's not goodbye. Don't pretend I'll love you. Don't ask if you will stay until tomorrow. Don't stay long enough for me to miss you. Love me now, then go. Words I do not hear. Loneliness removes the need for bitter lies. Laughter through each tear silently crumbles behind love's shadow dreams. Now don't believe this moment will not mean goodbye. Don't pretend that I'm in love with you. Don't ask to stay until tomorrow. Don't ask to stay.
All right. What did you folks think of that? The use of the stills. I said that Kathy Fields did the photographs. Now, what I want to know is Kathy Fields related to Freddie Fields, the producer? I wonder. I'm not an expert. I mean, I've seen this movie in theaters. Actually, I saw this picture. Goodness. I saw this picture when it came out, which means I would have been 10 years old. And I probably, I'm just trying to remember the theater I saw it in. I know I saw it in New York, and I don't remember where it played. I could look it up. But then I had to subsequently see it on videotape. One of the reasons I chose this is that this film is not available at all. It's on YouTube illegally. Well, not illegally, but I mean, it's on YouTube unofficially. There's never been a decent Criterion or Kino Lorber edition of this film. Why? I'm sure music licensing problems, and this is a common thing in film, the issue of film and music, and there's some great music in this film, a lot of it. And so it's a lot of producers and a lot of, trying to figure out how we're going to, so it hasn't been available. I think I saw it in New York again as a middle-aged guy 6 years ago. I think it was at the Quad or something like that on the big screen. But I want to stay on course with what I'm doing here. So that's looking for Mr. Goodbar, and I think the photographic stills again. It's almost like we're looking back. These are stills, and the individuality of the faces of these people. It's black and white, so you don't have the garish colors of the 70s quite yet. But the effect is like something from the past. It's like a snapshot. I'm always talking about snapshots. These are snapshots in this credit sequence, and that's interesting because when this film was made, nothing was of the past. In other words, these photos. I mean, if we're going to take it as a kind of literal reality, they're kind of snapshots you were taken last week because it's all called contemporary, and so it gives a kind of this again, elegiac is a word, quality. And so you're taking something that's contemporary, something that's a snapshot, and giving it black and white, giving it kind of like a sense of looking back, which is very lyrical. That has very little to do with what I'm talking about on this episode, but I thought it was important. Maybe it does. I thought it was important to mention it. I want to do used cars. Now, used cars, we're getting into the part of this program where I talk about outrageous public spectacle. In other words, we've done the previous scenes are all kind of, they're exciting, they're dynamic, but they're not, we'll see. So Used Cars is a movie from 1980 by Bob Zemeckis. Like a lot of things made in 1980, it's not an 80s movie spiritually at all, or 81. Now, what's interesting is that Bob Zemeckis went on to be Mr. 80s. He made Back to the Future, which sort of, in a way, is one film inaugurates the shift, inaugurates that we're in the 80s now. We left the 70s behind, but in Used Cars, which is a kind of really dark humor and satire, black satire, fantastic film, very farcical. Kurt Russell and Jack Warden, terrific. I think it was one of Pauline Kael's favorite movies of that year. I think she wrote about that, and Melvin and Howard, another great. I was almost going to use Melvin and Howard, the courtroom scene, but with Dabney Coleman. But this is kind of getting into sort of a little bit of the garishness and a little bit of the some used to say déclassé sort of quality, and putting a spotlight on the I guess you would call it the burlesque aspect, or sort of the lower comic aspect of America, sort of the thing that Michael Ritchie, which we'll get to in this program, really excelled at. So this is Bob Zemeckis before he drank the Kool-Aid, before he became a much more, I guess, a conventional filmmaker, I think, except for Flight with Denzel Washington. That's well, he's interesting, but in any event, but I got to cue it up, and get the right scene. Couple of things. You're going to see strippers in this scene. I just have to give an alert that it's kind of, we're getting into, sort of R-rated material here. And there's two women in this scene in the used car commercial who went on to become quite well known. One of them went on to, so Betty Thomas is the woman with the bunny ears. And she made her name sort of on Hill Street Blues, is one of the characters on Hill Street Blues, but also started making all these great comedies in the 90s, the Brady Bunch movies. She directed that franchise. She directed, I think, Private Parts, the Howard Stern picture, also in the 90s. And I sort of wanted to show that these characters are sort of have a kind of an extra part doing this sort of this kind of strip show, stripping away inflation, used cars, that they went on to do some things. And then the other woman who isn't in it very much, I think, to just show part of her, is now a big cabaret singer. And I found some clips of her, Lee Scarrett. So, and then unfortunately, I think there's two other women in the scene that aren't even credited, which always makes me angry when they don't credit people. That's why I'm talking so much about them, right? So you got to bear with me here. I just don't know. It's just oh goodness. It's sometimes hard to talk at the same time and do all this. You know, it's a little bit like you know, walking and chewing gum at the same time. So. You hear that disco music? This is how you know. This is a.
You can't nail him for misuse of the public airways. Nail him for false advertising.
I guess I should give you context. So Jack Warden plays a more conventional, cynical used car salesman, and he's in a battle with another used car dealership across the way, and Kurt Russell's there, and so Kurt Russell came up with this sort of a stripper show. Which you know, I mean, everything is very in used cars is very I was going to say overheated. That's like it's overblown, hyperbolic rhetoric, and kind of a no holds barred quality, and that was one of the qualities of the era, and you'll see in this scene.
Said they had 10 million cars.
Also, the clothes, Jack Warden's leisure suit with this white shoes and ugly, and the
touch him. I've got to prosecute the owner.
70s.
He's apparently off on a fishing expedition in Florida.
Fishing expedition, my ass. He's sitting at the bottom of the lake someplace. That's where he is.
Now, Roy, we've been through this already. You've got no proof.
Proof? What the hell do I need proof for? I'm Roy L. Fuchs, goddammit. Now, look, if you won't help me put them scum suckers out of business, I'll do it by myself. By using the greatest tool this country ever developed. Free enterprise. Competition. The American way. Yeah, I tell you. This here's the best goddamn gimmick I come up with so far. This circus idea, huh?
Come on in, ride the camel, ride the horse, breathe the helium, and drive out a car. Come on in, join the circus. Come on down.
Look at him over there. Not a customer on the lot. Can't fool honest people. That commercial was a fluke. They're dying. Practically out of business. Yeah, that's what the people want. Good old-fashioned homespun entertainment. That's what Roy L. Fuchs stands for, too. I'll tell you that right now. Let's hope that goddamn camel don't shit all over the lot.
Here we go. This is it's Betty Thomas and Kurt Russell. Okay, this is the.
We have a group of immoral charlatans masquerading as business.
You get the picture of this. This, that's amazing to me. It reminds me. There's a joke in the movie Fun with Dick and Jane, the first version with George Siegel and Jane Fonda, where there's a corrupt preacher, sort of a mega church. You know, that was in 1977, 2 years before this movie, and I think there was some kind of an accident, and all the preacher's money, you know, gets all over the street, and then there's this massive stampede. You know, people coming to, just like there's a massive stampede attracted by these women in this advertisement, in this used car advertisement. So that's kind of the more outrageous quality. I did save a couple. I saved Betty Thomas's SNL monologue, where she makes jokes about doing Hill Street Blues and things. And I don't know if I'm going to show. I'm not going to show those. I mean, I just kind of because I'm thinking on the fly here, and I gotta, while we're in the same kind of. Oh boy. Kind of sends a public spectacle and things. I'm going to go to semi-tough. This is in the same sort of a little bit the similar tonal register of what you just saw, except a little bit more. It's Michael Ritchie is a little more. His films are a little more considered and a little more. Well, this movie is Burt Reynolds, Chris Christopherson as football players. And Joe Clayburgh is like the woman they're both interested in. And Michael Ritchie's on record as saying it's my version of the Philadelphia Story with jocks. And but this movie introduces a theme that comes right out of my last episode, which is getting in touch with your feelings, therapy, consciousness raising, Est. So this film is a parody of Est and Werner Erhard. And so I'm going to show, well, first I'm going to show a scene of Chris Christopherson doing a mock advertisement inside of the film for deodorant. And again, it's that kind of a playful or sort of irresponsible sexuality, an example of that, comedy. And then I'm going to show Bert Convy doing his best to play Werner Erhard. And Bert Convy actually and Werner Erhard corresponded, and Werner Erhard wrote him saying, I like how you, even though the film is sort of criticizing in a way, Est, but is it? You know, it's funny. It's like, it's right on the edge. That's one of the things about 70s films is that they're right on the edge. If they mock something, they mock it out of love and understanding of the thing they're mocking, always. And that's you know, one of the many things. But also it gives you a sense of the presenting your self-presentation in public and spectacle. But I have to, moving right along. I feel this is like a, all right. Now, what does that mean? Let's go. Yeah, it's on. Or I think it's on. Here we go. They say patience is a virtue. Luckily, I was born with some of it. Here we go.
See?
Perfect. Now.
Tom is now meeting.
I'm going to do it in reverse order. So I'm going to do this scene first, even though it's acting a little kludgy. It's not, all right. Let's go. All right. Oh, I know what's happening. The tape is starting to, the digital is starting to break up, which means neither needs to be clean or has dust on it. Of course, this would happen now. Of course, during the episode, it played beautifully this morning. So I don't know. I guess I could try. Hold on.
I'm back in
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna show you a little bit of the real Werner Erhard. How about that? It's not 77 though. That's a problem. Because I don't have too much going on. In any event, I was going to play this last episode.
That time, 65,000 graduates comes to something like $16 million. And people say, look, if I were paying $60 an hour to a psychiatrist, it wouldn't bother me. But somehow this does. Most of the EST workers are volunteers, and people feel that you're absolutely cleaning up, and they want to know where this money goes.
It's not enough that the training transformed the quality of your life. It's not enough for you to know that you weren't conned. If anybody thinks you were conned, that shoves you into the closet, into the woodwork.
One of the reasons that he was attacked so heavily was that...
This is not what I wanted to play. I wanted to play... Hold on. This is from a documentary called, I think it's called Transformation.
To victim bash someone in the context.
Anything, but he understood things as well as anyone I'd ever seen. And I've been around a lot.
All right, that's good.
So that they had an opportunity for true self-expression. You know, we all live inside of limits that built up over the years, some of which we put there, some of which were put there by others. But what happened for people in their transformation in the programs was they got free of that self that kind of just growed.
Ours is the opposite of Minnie. She said she feels superior. I feel inferior.
So look, so you've got a way of looking at the world, a filter, like a position. So you've taken the position, I'm inferior. Some place in your life, something threatened you. And in that moment of being threatened and perhaps a little unconscious, you know, if somebody smacks you on the face like that, you kind of lose your awareness a little bit. You made a decision that you were inferior, but I want you to know what the decision was for. It was useful at the moment as a way of dealing with the threat, and you turned it into an is. This is how people destroy their lives. They turn words into things.
So that's a very good excerpt of the S training in Werner Erhard, working in one-on-one, although that clip was probably from 1982, 81, and not 70s, somewhere in there. And that's from a documentary I'm not so crazy about, because there's a lot of, you know, again, like a lot of documentaries, there's a lot of background music and sound, and, you know, and also it's not but I just, you know, and it occurs to me I may have another copy of Semi-Tough somewhere. Maybe I have it in Prime, maybe. Oh. So In my book, I go into detail about the idea of a community. And there's different ways a filmmaker, a fictional film, a representational film, this is all representation. It's not reality, or it's not, like real, right? And it's artificial. And so there's different ways a film can portray the public and community. Okay. And in these films, this title, you like this? This title is currently unavailable. They don't want us to watch it. They don't want us to see it. So you'll have to take my word for it that Bert Convy gives an amazing performance in this film. And so that's that. Okay. This is another. So what I was trying to say is that you could portray community. We have to do some fast forwarding because it's the very end of the film that I'm going to play. This is Stay Hungry. This is a film by Bob Rafelson and the weightlifting fitness guru, Charles, I forget his last name. It's in the credits. Jeff Bridges. And it's, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger's first major role as Jeff Bridges' friend. And there's some other people in the film. Sally Field's in it, and great cast. Great cast. Great film. But you could portray community as sort of a given. Or you could portray community in what I'm calling an not irresponsible, but in a kind of fearless, that's a better word. Fearless, no holds barred way, which is what you're going to see here. And the idea of integration of people, not just racial integration, but integration of different kinds of people in a crowd or in space, including everybody, vision. And sort of this is the end of the film in which the bodybuilding, the Gold's Gym people take over the city of Atlanta, literally invade the city. And it's an incredible scene. It's just it's incredible scene. And so I'm talking while we get to that moment. I think. Well, it looks like Prime is acting well. It's we got a violent fight scene here. So this is very very visceral. Oh God. All right. Here we go. Finally.
center stage. One of you. In just a moment, the judges will announce the new Mr. Universe. He's from Austria.
Oh my God. Hey, where you going? Hey, where you going? Dougie! No, son of a bitch is taking over that prize now.
Hey, now listen to me now. You're causing a panic here. Now talk slow.
Feeding?
Joe Side will come this way.
Oh, see what that is, man.
Pose the trunks out.
Is that what you wear? I thought that was his underpants, man.
No, bodybuilder.
Bodybuilder, man. People with bodybuilders, man.
Did you see where Side went? No. These people want to see poses.
Might as well.
All right.
You leave us alone, huh?
Attempted rape, assault, after doing 10 years. How about taking care of the crowd? Excuse me, officer, what?
Well, the plot has to kick in, and that's what that is, and it's kind of it's a little bit like a Preston Sturges picture, a little bit of the 40s, or the kind of you have to solve a problem, and they're going to lose the gem, this kind of stuff. He's very, they work though. They're very, but again, it's that's an amazing scene, and that scene kind of embodies, pun intended, maybe, what I've been talking about all along, which is this vision of a life in which things are exposed, and they're exposed in public, and they're wild, and they're like that. I think having been derailed by a disc that I think is a little dusty, even though I just cleaned it. I'm going to conclude. I don't know with what movie. I'm going to try to think on the fly here. I'm not going to do Mother, Jugs and Speed. I'm going to save that for another time. I'm going to do something really famous and iconic. Show something really famous and iconic. All right. I'm starting from the beginning.
minute, Sonny. Sonny, that was your fault, Sonny. You know that we have the communication set up here? We haven't got it set up properly. We got 250.
This is Dog Day Afternoon, of course. Sidney Lumet, Al Pacino, Penny. I want to say, and that's not Penny Warner, because there is a Penny Warner current today acting. It's a different Penny playing the teller, and the great Charles Durning and some other people. James Broderick, Matthew Broderick's dad, who was a star of, I know I'm encyclopedic. I have all this stuff in my head. Jim Broderick, who was the dad on Family, Christy McNichol, any of that. This is the famous Attica scene. I'm showing it because it's quite a scene, right?
Up there. We don't know what the fuck is going on in there.
You almost killed him, are you crazy?
That was smart. You told me that I had nothing but women, and you told out a girl, a guy. Now what the fuck's going on in there?
You wanted a hostage, that's what went out
You
for
gonna
you.
deal with us or not?
I told you I gave you one, I gave you one, right?
That's it. What do you have to do? Should pick up the phone. Now come on out, Sonny. Look, I ain't packing nothing, see? I ain't packing nothing. You come on out and frisk me. You can tell. Huh? Come on.
So what do you want me to come
Come on, I
out
want
for?
you to come out and look at something. Come on. I want you to see what you're up against.
I can see it, what do I gotta come out for?
I want you to come on and see it all right? Come on. All right?
Well, I got Sal in there with the other people. Anything happens to me, they're gonna get it, you understand me?
I don't forget about Sal. I want you to come on and take a look, okay? Come on. Okay?
But I gotta check with him first.
All right, now you don't need that artillery.
John Cazale.
5 minutes, you tell him.
Take it easy. All right, comrade, keep him back. All right, he's got a white flag. All right. Okay, everything's all right. Come on. Right, yeah. Okay. Come on out, Sonny.
He's still close.
All right, come on, get back. What the fuck are you doing? Get back.
Get him back.
Get back. Okay? Come on out. Now, take a look at this. Come on. Here, look. Look up here. Look. Look. Look over here. Huh? Over there, right. We got everything here, okay?
Got the militia out here, huh?
Let Sal come out and take a look, all right? What hope you got, huh? Come on, put one to your head. All you got is attempted robbery.
Armed robbery.
All right, armed then. Nobody's been hurt. Release the hostages. Nobody's going to worry over kidnapping charges. The most you're going to get is 5 years. You get out in 1 year, huh?
Kiss me, man.
What?
Kiss me. When I'm being fucked, I like to get kissed a
Come
lot.
on.
You're a city cop, right? Robbing a bank's a federal offense. They got me on kidnapping, armed robbery. They're gonna bury me, man. I don't want to talk to somebody who's trying to calm me. Get somebody in charge here.
I am in charge.
I don't want to talk to some flunky pig trying to calm me.
Well, you don't have to be calling.
What's he doing?
Will you get back
What
over
are you
there?
over there for?
Will you
What's
get
he
the
doing?
fuck back there? Get back there.
What's he doing? Look at him with him.
Get over there.
Go back there, man.
Get over there. Will you?
He wants to kill me so bad he can taste it.
I'm always going to kill you.
Attica! Attica!
Will you?
Attica! 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 Remember Attica! Put your guns down! Put your guns down! Come watch it for the TV, guys! They kill us all! Tell them put their guns down! Come on, will you get them back? Put the guns down! Put the fucking guns down! Put those guns down! Put them down! Put them down! Put the fucking guns down! Put those guns down! Attica!
Judith Malena,
He needed money.
Open Theater.
He should have come to me if he needed money.
Yeah, Dog Day Afternoon. Now that connects to the other scenes clearly. Sidney Lumet had a great fear of heights, and so he was very happy he had an AD to shoot his helicopter shot there. It's related to the other films, but Sidney Lumet is a I mean, his sensibility is slightly different than Bob Fosse, Bob Zemeckis, certainly Bob Rafelson, Stay Hungry. And he's a little more politically, it's a little more political, a little more ethical. Doing a film about an actual event involving queer, trans, actually one of the very first films in the mainstream film to talk about trans and a gay hero here, anti-hero, robbing the bank and his trans partner wanting to get an operation. It's what the reason for robbing the bank. But not just that, but the police and the establishment and the kind of at Sidney Lumet, like Prince of the City and Serpico. And but it comes out of the 70s. It comes, although Lumet actually comes out of the 50s in the Yiddish theater, 40s, 50s too. But I mean, there's that 70s sensibility, and that the politics, was a big part of 70s filmmaking. But it's very variegated because some filmmakers are a little more. That's not up front. That's not their main purpose. The main purpose is maybe to show the essence of a scene. I mean, show the color, local color, you could say, or something. Or sometimes of course, as I've said, at the expense of narrative. Or it could be for the narrative, telling a story, or it could be to depict something. Many reasons. But I'm just thinking out loud here, responding to these scenes and thinking about, the looking for Mr. Goodbar, and envision a community in which you're trying to create a way of documenting something that's important to you. You're trying to document a scene or a part of life that's important. And valuable for documentation. And so even though these are fictional works, they're artificial, etymologically, art and artifice, the connection there. They are, there's a kind of reaching out of these filmmakers to try to document something of importance and to try to honor the strangeness or the oddity. Sidney Lumet said that he was talking about Dog Day Afternoon. He says, my film is about he said, the freaks are the same as us. There are no freaks. That's what he said his point in making this film is. That was his motive, of course. And that might be a undercurrent of all these films I've shown today. There's a lot I had to leave out because of the technical difficulties, and I'm gonna. I showed the excerpts of the Yes documentary because that was what, of course, that was what some of these actors were doing when they were not on set making films. They were not only attending those seminars, but they were interested in some of those ideas, and not just to mock it or satirize it, but also to sort of, kind of wondering what's going on here. A little bit like the spirit of the reporter or the roving reporter, right? So that's going to include this episode 4. There will be further episodes. I'm going to break things up and return to certain things. I need to devote some time eventually to television movies, exploitation movies, movies that are sometimes B movies, because there's a lot there too. And I just don't know how to integrate it. I mean, exactly. So that's what I'm going to do. And eventually. But upcoming, as the beginning of season 5, my producer reminds me to be mindful of a change in the seasons. Laurie reminds me in season 5, I'm going to do a special stream on July 6th and do a little thing about how I compose music in the moment, live. And there's a lot going on in the world. In the world of movies, of course, Turner Classic Movies. I think they're trying to resolve their issues with that channel there. I don't know. It's really hard to talk about all that now, but I hope you enjoyed some of these clips with some very iconic scenes, and I hope you have a good weekend. This being Friday with the weekend, and you are well and safe in the upcoming days, and you come back for some more of Journey of an Aesthete podcast. So thank you.